Hey everyone, welcome back to the Microwave Lab. In a previous video I talked about the SWR meter on this old Micronta CB meter, and I did that video not specifically for this Micronta meter, but more as a general representation of cheap analog swing needle SWR meters. And I kind of wrote off the power measurement as not accurate, and modulation I kind of glossed over and said that the best way to measure that with an oscilloscope is with an oscilloscope, which is still true because this swing needle won't tell you if there's any major distortion or anything crazy going on with your signal. So I wanted to revisit that because it turns out, as usual, it was human error that I was basing my opinions on. I was actually calculating power incorrectly earlier on when I was doing radio measurements, and so I kind of wrote off the Micronta as not being correct. But turns out I was making a mistake. So we're going to revisit that here. First, we're gonna measure power, and the main thing to remember with measuring power with these passive meters, or passive being it's not a powered meter, it's just using the power of the signal to actuate these needles, is that you can only measure your dead key or average power because you can't. In order to measure peak envelope power, you need more sophisticated equipment, like a Bird 43 with a peak envelope power reading meter. That's like the holy grail of meters, or on an oscilloscope, which there are plenty of videos about, and I showed in the in my video about the GE Help radio. So you can't measure your swing with these types of meters. But what this would be useful for is just measuring dead key, is if you wanted to bump up your dead key a little bit for whatever reason, or if you want to dial it back to hook up an amplifier or something like that. It's not uncommon to have a 1 watt dead key and swing 4 watts to put into some low power amplifiers. So that's where this kind of meter could come in handy. So for this test, I'm just going to use my GE Help radio because it's nice and manageable and easy to power with a 1.6 amp wall wart, which is what I'm using just for convenience. So we're going to just depress the push to talk button and measure the dead key. Now, if you remember from my other video, this was dead keying 4 watts where we measured it with the oscilloscope. So we'll just dead key up, and we got 4 watts, and we'll just do it a few times for repeatability. Trying to avoid any parallax error here. Maybe just a smidge under 4 watts, but that could be maybe where the needle's sitting at rest. So this is as accurate as you'd need it to be to sort of get going on making some adjustments for an amplifier or something like that. So I was wrong at first, and turns out I was making a calculation error. So that was the easy part. Obviously, power looks good, and I wanted to do a little comparison to this Dewa cross needle meter, and this is a more expensive meter. This is about a $150 meter. This is about $40 or so on eBay, and you might be able to find these locally as well at flea markets or whatever. And this one reads a little bit lower. It reads more about 3.5 watts, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe just a little bit of measurement error. I'd be hard pressed to think that this is legitimately more accurate than this one, but maybe just at lower powers this one's better. Who knows? I don't really want to speculate, but I want to stick to this one because this is a more available meter. And the one thing to remember with these cross needle, like a cross needle meter like this, or these analog meters, is that they're actually using a little bit of the signal to actuate the needles. And so what you can run into is something called the observer effect, where by measuring or observing some value or parameter, you're actually inherently changing it. So you're using a little bit of power to actuate these needles, so that might skew it will skew the value of your power measurement. So that's something to keep in mind, that they have to be taken with a little bit of a grain of salt. But as you can see, the oscilloscope and the Micronta both agree that it's a 4 watt dead key. So now we're going to move on to modulation. That's a little bit more complicated. I actually have to go. I didn't measure modulation in my last video about the GE Help, so I'm going to do it on the oscilloscope really quickly. I don't really want to go through the details of that. I'm just going to measure it and do the calculations, and then we'll compare over here. So I'm all done with the test and the math here, and we got 85% modulation for the GE Help CB radio, and the way I did that was with all my tests, as not the best way, but I used the signal generator on my phone and just held the speaker right up to the microphone on the radio, and with a 1 kilohertz tone, and measured on the oscilloscope. And I just wanted to say I stopped the waveform here, and that is a good looking waveform for such an old radio. I'm really blown away and impressed by this radio and how well it works after all these years, and how well I'm sure it worked back in the day compared to some other junk that was out on the market. But anyway, now we're going to hook the radio up to the Micronta here. here, and we're going to measure the modulation here. And so the first thing you need to do is calibrate the modulation meter, and what you do for that is switch it to cal, and then you dead key the radio, and then adjust the calibration knob until it hits the cal line there. And that's straight out of the instructions for this meter that came with the meter. Very, very good instructions, I might add. Very well written, and a lot of good tidbits of info in there as well. But so follow. I did that already because that's a little bit difficult to do with one hand. So now we're gonna do the same thing. I'll play the 1 kilohertz tone into the microphone, and we'll measure the modulation. Now, headphone users or anybody else, bear with me. It's kind of an annoying noise, so just hang on tight while it's on. So we're keyed up and measuring. Try to avoid any parallax error here. So that looks like just a touch under. It's changing just a little bit, probably with my voice. That was just a touch under 90, maybe like 88, 87. So that's pretty darn close to our 85% modulation. So, like I said earlier, I really was really undersold this meter. I'm really impressed with the accuracy, and I did this test a little bit earlier just to see how it would work, and so I just wanted to film it now to show you guys. So. Yeah, once again, really impressed with the accuracy of this meter. So if you can find one nearby that's available to you, then definitely pick it up. Like I said, I got this for about $40 on eBay, and I think that was a pretty good deal. That's about what they go for, maybe between $30 and $50. This one was in pretty good shape. It came with the box and it came with the instructions, so that was a bonus. But I've heard of people picking this up for $1 at a rummage sale or a garage sale out of someone's garage, so that's pretty neat. So yeah, these meters maybe they might not be the best, and your power, like I said, your power. Most important thing is your power is limited to dead key only. You need more sophisticated equipment to measure peak envelope power. But anyway, this kind of thing is enough to get you started. So that's all for now, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next video.